I want to talk to you guys about dating women who are people pleasers. As much flack as women get for, oh, they just want a guy that's going to come along and do everything for them and use them and abuse them and blah, blah, blah. The reality is most women I find out there actually are the type of women that really want to do for their man. You know, most women are raised to not be too contentious, even though today there are more women that are contentious, but that's usually women from a single mother household. That's a whole different show altogether. But I found just in my dating journey that most women are actually more than willing to, no pun intended, like bend over backwards to please a guy, right? And so on one hand, you would think that's a positive, right? You want a girl that's going to be go with the flow, that's going to be willing to do things for you. You make a request of her, you ask her to do something, and she just does it, right? But I've also noticed that there is a negative to dating a people pleaser, and it's a big one, okay? It's that women who are people pleasers, oftentimes they're so focused on pleasing other people that they will not vocalize when they don't want to do a thing or when they're not happy with something. And that's a big thing because think of the number of women you've seen before be like, well, I was with this guy for like 10 years and I sacrificed myself and then I decided I was just out of here, right? And the guy sitting there like, I had no idea she was even unhappy or that she thought she was doing too much or that she was sacrificing herself. But the reality is there are a lot of women out there that are people pleasers that won't vocalize that to you. They won't vocalize the time when maybe you asked them to do something and they didn't want to do it, or you had an opinion about something and she didn't agree with it, but she wanted to please you, so she didn't say a thing, right? And so I've been fortunate to date a variety of women that overall have been pretty eager to please me, I shall say. But part of my success with them has actually been being the guy that knows that they don't always want to do things that are being asked of them and knowing when to interject and when to pull back. What do I mean by that? What I mean is this, is that here's the thing, with people-pleasing women, their biggest fear is that if they disagree with you or they're displeasing to you in some way, that you're going to leave them. And so it is to their detriment sometimes that they're overextending and overdoing things to please you in an attempt to keep you around. And again, that sometimes comes at the sacrifice of, but does she actually want to do these things, you know? And so I've had to be the guy in relationships that has said things like, hey, if you don't want to do this thing with me, that's totally fine. Or, hey, you know what? If you need your alone time, then you can go do your alone time. I don't need you always in front of me because I don't think that's fair. I think that just, we were both single before. And so just like sometimes I need my alone time as an introvert, I recognize you need your alone time. I've had times where I'm like, hey, you know what? Like, this is my opinion on this thing. What do you think? And they'll sit there like, well, I mean, I don't know. And I'll sit there and be like, wait, no, I want your honest, actual thought. Like, don't say the thing that's going to please me or that agrees with me if you don't agree. I want to know your legit thought. And so I say this because it's a weird balance as a guy to think that, you know, you want to find a woman that's going to be pleasing, but then there's also women out there that are pleasing you at times when it's not convenient for them. And so this is where it's good for you as a guy, one, to be more indifferent, and B, to not have your ego be the end-all be-all in a relationship. Because there's going to be times where you're going to have to look at this girl that is seemingly a people pleaser and tell her that it is okay for her to not always be pleasing. I'll give you a perfect example. I'm a guy in my relationship, I'm a guy that loves going to the movies. Almost every weekend, a movie comes out, I got an AMC pass. I done seen Wicked. I done seen Gladiator 2. I got a group of friends I go to the theater with religiously. Whenever a movie comes out, we watch the movies. Right now it's Christmas season, so I'm watching all the Christmas movies, right? Now, if I were with a woman that was not a fan of going to the movies, it would be very selfish of me to know that and then still be like, but she knows that she wants to please me, she's gonna go, so I'm gonna make her go, and then she'd be coming with me to all these movies, and maybe she'd have partially a good time because she wants to be around me, but over a period of 2, 3, 5 years, how many times is this woman now going to movies that she doesn't actually want to go to just to please me? And that's the kind of thing that will build resentment in a people pleaser, because on the one hand, and to be fair to you guys, they should get to a point where they can vocalize things they do or do not want to do. So if I'm with a woman and she doesn't want to go to the movies, I'd rather her say, hey, if you want to go to the movies, that's totally fine. I'm not a fan. My thing's always, as long as you're not going to stop me from doing what I want to do, you can do whatever. You can stay here, go with this and that, right? But you have to understand that maybe for whatever reason, there's been women that have gone through traumatic things with other guys that maybe did punish them for not always wanting to do the things, to where she's thinking, if I want to keep this guy, I got to keep doing stuff that I don't want to do because, yeah, he's going to sacrifice for me sometimes and whatever. And so learn to become the guy that's not so clingy to a woman to where she has to be around all the time, or that if she ever says no to you, that you're gonna be mad at it, and be the guy that's like, objectively, I know as much as we love each other, we're not gonna always have the same likes, the same thoughts, you're not gonna always wanna do the same things I wanna do, and that's totally fine. So I've had to tell women in my relationships, hey, you know what? I love going to the movies, and if you wanna go with me, or if you just have a specific genre you wanna see with me, that's fine. But if that's not your thing, again, as long as you're not stopping me from going, you can stay home, you know? If I'm gonna go eat a certain meal and she doesn't like that kind of food, hey, you know what? I will go pick up another kind of food for you, because as much as you wanna please me by saying, oh, I like Chinese food or whatever too, and you don't have to have that, you know? And I know it seems weird saying you should have to do that for her. And again, we want women to get to the point where they're actually able to verbalize that. But sometimes a woman needs to see from you first that you're not gonna be bothered by her not wanting to do a bunch of things before she's more comfortable saying, you know what, babe, I don't wanna go to the movies today. You just go and have a good time. Or, hey, you know, I was gonna do this thing, but I'm really kind of tired, but you go out, you know? Like, you need to get her comfortable with the idea that you know she's a people pleaser, but you're not trying to take advantage of that, you know? There have been times where, like, you know, when I first got to California, I didn't have a car, and I would date women that had cars, and they'd be like, oh, I'll drive an hour out from where I live to come pick you up to do some stuff. And sometimes I'd be like, hey, fantastic, we're gonna go on a date anyway, it is what it is. And then other times I'd be like, objectively, I appreciate the offer, but I know that's gonna cost you gas and it's gonna cost you time, and so I can catch the bus there, it is what it is, but hey, I still appreciate you. And come to find out, women appreciated that because they felt like with previous people, they had to be trapped and into doing these things that they didn't want to do because they thought they'd be punished for it. And so you don't ever want a woman to feel like she's going to get punished, or you're going to start like crying, or why don't you want to see me? Simply because she doesn't want to do one thing that you want to do out of the many other things that you guys do together as a couple, you know? So just be mindful. People pleasers, they're well-meaning. They're some of the best people you will date. Overall, they're pretty easy to get along with, but you have to keep a monitor also on, like, if you notice that she's been doing a little bit too much, you have to sometimes tell her, hey, it's okay to like not do the thing. I'm still gonna love you. It is what it is. So just wanted to give my 2 cents on that, because I've been thinking about it for days. Like, yes, people pleasers are great, and I used to be a people pleaser too. At one point in time, I was down to bend over backwards for any woman that needed whatever, and to kind of find out they didn't actually like that, because they did want a guy that had his own life, and they did want a guy that was able to say no to them sometimes, and I found that they also don't mind that either. So just some things to keep in mind. Hey there, thanks for tuning in to Harry Dating Convos. Don't forget to visit HarryWilmington.com to download my free ebook, Texting Women Like a Boss. And while you're there, if you're ready to take things to the next level with your dating life, check out the Get Girls Academy membership program for exclusive strategies and live coaching. Go to HarryWilmington.com to learn more and join today. Lastly, if you've got a question you'd like answered on one of these shows, leave a comment below or write me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.